everybody. Oh, mwah, mwah, and Oh, let's get into it. It's a coordinational nightmare, I tells you. Oh, I'll take the triggers out tonight. Hope everyone's okay. Welcome to Melbourne Musos Live. My name's Quinlan and I hope you're enjoying yourself. There you go. What I'm going to talk about tonight is it's a coordinational nightmare. What happens is that when you're looking at famous people like John Bonham or Tony Williams or people of that nature, you'll often see the hi-hat pumping away. I'm a bit of a child of my time in the sense that dun 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 doo doo doo. Deep Purple in rock, child of my time. Do everything, hi-hat 2 and 4. Things like that, and then all the way through. That's a little bit of a Tony Williams thing with Miles Davis. But if I just keep pumping away, and if you look down at boot cam down here, I have my heel up a little bit, and what I'm going to do is, because of this, my right hand and the left foot. I'll get straight into it. Then I can start to put my left hand in between. Got it on the brain. So that's what goes on. You've got this kind of business. When it comes to bass drum, when you start putting things, I call it ons and in-betweens, you see, because what goes on is if I'm doing this is the bass thing for now, like just like that, then come in-between. That you see, that starts to, I've mentioned that many a time, when I hear the lick of the century, I always try and put the hi-hat with it. That's what it is. That's how you see John Bonham do it, and Ian Pace of Deep Purple. And when I was coming up in the 70s and all that, that was really quite the thing to do, okay? That all the time. Now, when I'm talking about things like this, I could start to build a kind of a solo with this, simply because I can use that as the basis, if you know what I mean. In-betweens. And then you've got levels on your snare drum, if we're going to talk about snare drum technique. We certainly saw a lot of that on Anzac Day, you know. And what happens with this is that you've got your normal notes, you've got accents, then you can have rim shots. little double taps. In and out, in and out, in and out. Then, if you have a double kick pedal or just a second bass drum, whatever it is, you can take that, move it to your left kick pedal. Just simple things tonight. And then you can, with your right foot, you can start to So, with this, you can start to do what we call unisons, you see, but it's kind of like a diagonal there, because what's going on is I'm doing a single stroke roll with my hands, right, left, right, left, right, left, right, left, right, and a single stroke roll with my feet, except with the left foot start, because of where I come from. As far as when you're, say, working your drum kit and working the hi-hat, and then you start to do all fours, or for that matter, even quavers, you know, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3, so on it goes. And you translate that to a bass drum, you get instant results, you see. However, it's like a co-ordinational nightmare. See, there. Now I'll talk about a little bit, I'll leave it over there to simmer a little bit, and what happens here is that I could be doing this, and then with the left hand I could put in a little double tap. See, that's just staying there. Right hand just doing the same thing. Bring the left foot. Notice the right hand is just keeping the same. All the colours coming from the left hand. Then I start bringing in the right foot. Then I'll start doubling with my right hand. Oh my lord, the co-ordinational nightmare! Now what I'm going to talk about a little bit is dialogue, okay? Creating a kind of a flow. It's wonderful to be as melodic as you can. Try and create some kind of little melody, if you can do it, a kind of an etude. For those who don't know what an etude is a piece of music that's based on a certain skill. Most anyone who's playing any kind of classical piano, they would have plenty of etudes to go through, and it usually means a certain kind of finger skill or some such thing. So you can have things like that. So what goes on, if I keep that as a basic, what I have is the diagonal, the right hand, left foot, and the dialogue will be between the left hand and the right foot. So you can get this. So do you see what I'm trying to do here? Creating a dialogue with a certain skill, the etude, you see. Because what I'm really doing is creating the right hand, left foot, and then the left hand and the right foot are creating the dialogue. So this is something that you can do with a kind of, if you want to sort of do a rudimental style solo, very snare drummy, a little bit like the typical Buddy Rich thing. He was quite the snare drummer, and he'd flick out to his toms if you have a bit of a look. All this sort of business. So I'm sticking with this just a little bit more. So what happens is there's that. And then what I'm doing now is starting to utilize the different kind of levels of a snare drum, you see. Now, if you're thinking just like your normal volume control on your phone, 1 to 10. And really what I'm sort of doing here is a little bit like thirds, if you like. So if I'm playing normal notes, let's call that about 3. If I'm going to accent, call that about 6. And if I'm going to rim shot, not that I'm going to bring it from up here, but call that 9. You've got 3 levels. They're all shades, just shading, you see. And trying to build something up. There you go. So what happens then is there's something about the left foot start with this, because you're doing that. It comes from the age-old hi-hat. So you get... So it's very snare drummy tonight, isn't it? There you go. I'm bouncing off Anzac Day, you see. I'm making this the day after. And you just noticed that, like, when you were watching the services, when you were watching the footy, the catapult party and all that stuff. Oh, good old City of Essendon brass band back in the day. You'd be press rolls, you'd have to... And really, when you're actually doing a march and you're playing some of the classic marching pieces, all sorts of things. Funnily enough, this afternoon on TV there was the old film The Dam Busters, and we used to play the Dam Busters theme and all that. But I didn't really get any kind of drum chart. I just play along to the melody, you see. That kind of thing. Dialogue. So, again, I'll just revise just a tad. Very snare drummy tonight, bouncing off Anzac Day, doing it, doing the day after. And what it is my right hand is with my left foot. If you look down at boot cam, what you have down there is my left foot paddling a little bit like that sort of thing. I'm not really, if I bring my heel down, I'll start to splash the hat a bit, which is quite valid for that sound. When I do things like that for my more soundtrackian business, when I'm doing work for impromptu TV, and I'm doing much more of a soundtrack thing, that splash hat is a lot like when you're watching an orchestra and you're seeing the percussionist with various size cymbals like that. When you see any kind of marching band, you often see it. They have that, you know, that kind of business. And so I emulate that a little bit. And with the dynamics of it, I was previously going 3, 6 and 9, no worries. I can sort of do the same thing with the hi-hat, because if I play lightly, the jingle jangle is not moving. Do you see? If I do that, if I splash, I can do it like that. The jingle jangle is not moving. But if I start pressing down, jingle jangle is moving, and I start to get that. Once again, if I go back to John Bonham, you're always seeing the jingle jangle on the top there, because they were playing such big stadiums and stuff, he had to be heard. I remember when I was doing the Zappa business, and I used to keep the hi-hat going for various things, but because of the PAs, some of the boys in the band couldn't hear just the chick, so I said, I'll splash it. Gives it a bit of air. Now when you look down at boot cam again, you notice my heel is down for that, so there it is, there's the basic start. And that is your humble right, left, left. One of the most used rudiments, much undersung. Everyone thinks double stroke rolls, paradiddles, beautiful, but right, left, left. There you have it. Get it? Fantastic. So that's what I'm doing there. It's a humble little simple thing. I'm building an etude, and what I'm doing with this is, once again, right hand, left foot, that kind of business. And then you can start to do things like your accents, which I'm doing here. And if you're doing that kind of business, you can start putting in what you'd call progressive accents. There's a few different kinds of accent styles. If you're going to play a 3-2 clave, right? Usually on the tom-tom. All that. And then you have the reverse clave, a calypso. You can have all the different types. A samba, all that sort of stuff. And they're set because they're the Latin rhythms, you see. But when you're doing progressives, this is where you start to go down the track of Gene Krupa, Vote 1, Gene Krupa, and Buddy Rich and all that. And what you've got then is you could have and you get the drift. It just moves, the accents move going along. So when you're hearing Buddy Rich or Jeannie Krupa, who are my two recent subjects, Gene Krupa was the last episode. Vote 1! You're telling a story on the snare drum. Notice tonight is very much snare drum orientated. I don't want to over-explain it, but it is Anzac weekend here. So I thought, well, what I usually do, what I've always done, is somewhere around Anzac Day time, I always talk about the snare drum, okay? that kind of thing. I know I've got big Loris here and all that, but when I was, of course, when you're marching down the street, you're not going to be wheeled down or on the back of a flatbed truck or anything like that. You've just got your one snare drum and you've got to march from wherever it is. I remember one march, RMIT down to the shrine. Oh my God. Whew, we earned our beer that day, boys. And but what goes on is try and get a melody. On the brain, sorry. But then you can do that. I would start thinking about wrapping the show up. And just to go over it again, you could take your hi-hat boot and put it over to your left side kick drum. Now, when I'm doing things like this, just to finish off, you can see that I'm doing the snare drum and now double bass drum. But what I'm doing is to break it down even further. I've got the right hand, I'll say it one more time, right hand with the left foot, the ins and outs with the left hand, ons and in-betweens. And then I can bring in the right foot in between, you see. So I've got kind of like that going, the X Factor, that kind of stuff. Throw in a couple of the little triplet-y things, the little drags, if you want to call them. Oh! So, I'll get a wriggle on. Barely touching toms here. There, I've touched them. Then you can straddle. You can put your left foot, you can just go a little bit diagonal there. And once again, boot cam. And you can actually see my shoe holding down both pedals. Just set it up the right way at home, whatever it might be. You get that and. There you have it. So I hope you get something out of it. Straight ahead tonight with snare drum and feet. A co-ordinational nightmare in the sense that you've got your left foot. The left foot is often one of the last things to come around because usually when you're first starting out, you're just using your left foot to hold the hi-hat down. And but then it really becomes quite an important piece of your playing. You see, when you're actually doing things like that, it's really a quite important thing to do. And for that, the reference will always be John Bonham, who got it from other people as well. Tony Williams, as I mentioned at the top of the show, he would do that with Miles Davis. You'll hear it on albums like Four and More from the 60s, and you'll just hear the. And I think, that's a bit different for jazz. Jazz is usually 2 and 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Little young Tony Williams, come along and pump away. Boot again. Oh, I'm out of here. I hope you enjoyed it. This is a Co-ordinational Nightmare. Okay. Love ya. Mwah. Now for a nice glass